Hello guys, I hope you're doing great. Today we're going to talk about a brief history of London. So first, almost 2000 years ago, the Romans invaded Britain and they decided to build a town beside the river Thames and named it Londinium. By the year 200, Londinium was the biggest town in Britain. Around 400, the Romans left Britain, and over the next 600 years, people called the Saxons and then the Vikings lived in Britain. During this time, Westminster Abbey was built. Another important date in the history of England and of London, 1066. So do you know what happened in 1066? Have you got an idea? Yes? No? Yes, you're right. William the Conqueror. So William the Conqueror, who was Duke of Normandy, invaded Britain and became King of England in 1066. And he decided to build a palace in London, which was called the Tower of London. So it was a great period for London. In the 1400s, London expanded, and the south bank of the Thames was crammed with inns and lively playhouses like Shakespeare's Globe. Okay, you know Shakespeare's Globe. In 1665, the Great Plague killed a lot of Londoners. It was terrible because around 100,000 people were killed. And the next year, in 1666, the Great Fire of London broke out, destroying most of the city. But of course, the city was rebuilt, and at this time, St. Paul's Cathedral was built, as well as the Bank of England and the British Museum. Another important date in the history of London is 1837, when Queen Victoria decided to move into Buckingham Palace. And 3 years later, building began on the Houses of Parliament. In 1851, there was the Great Exhibition in London, in Hyde Park. And this great exhibition was held to celebrate Britain's achievements in industry and in science. So it was an important date in the development of London. Another period of time which was very important for London is during the Second World War. You know that the city was devastated by a series of air raids known as the Blitz, okay? And over 20,000 Londoners were killed during the Blitz, and millions were left homeless, so it was terrible. What about London today? What can you tell me about London today? I'm going to show you some pictures of different monuments and buildings in London. For example, you have Holden, the Bank of England. Okay, you know the Bank of England. It looks after the British government's money, of course, and this bank has been operating since 1694. Okay, it's a nice building in London. Of course, you have Kensington Gardens. They are very, very nice in London. It's elegant park and it was created in the 18th century. Okay. You have the London Eye. You know, it's a huge wheel, and it was built to celebrate the millennium. Okay. For example, you have I've got a lot of cards. The National Gallery. I love the National Gallery. Here you can see works by some of the most famous names in the history of art. Okay, so if you visit London, go to the National Gallery. It's fantastic. Of course, you have wait a second. Lloyd's building. Okay, it's a famous skyscraper in London. It has staircases, elevators, and water pipes on the outside of the building. So it's a very famous one. The Tower of London, as you can see on the picture. So you can visit the Tower of London, of course. It's a museum, and you can find the crown jewels inside the Tower of London. You have Covent Garden Market, and in the Middle Ages, this market was the vegetable garden of a religious convent. Okay, and today, of course, it's a bustling market with craft shops and outdoor cafes. It's very nice. I love Covent Garden markets. You have wait a second, I'm sorry. Madame Tussauds, you know, is the world's most famous wax museum in London. It opened in 1835. It's a nice museum. It's quite expensive to visit Madame Tussauds, but you know, I like it too. The Tate Modern, which was a power station. Okay, at the beginning it was a power station, and it has been transformed into one of London's largest and most popular art galleries in London. Of course, this famous address in London, number 10 Downing Street. So, what is it? Do you know? Yes, you're right. It has been the home of British Prime Ministers since 1735. And inside 10 Downing Street, you have elegant dining rooms and, of course, the cabinet room where the Prime Minister and his closest advisors make important political decisions. So it's a famous address in London. Tower Bridge. Look at this bridge. It's a fantastic bridge in London. It was completed in 1894, and it remains the only bridge over the Thames that opens in the middle, okay, of the bridge. So it's a great bridge. I love it. Millennium Bridge. Look at this one. It's the first new footbridge to cross the Thames in over 100 years. Okay, it was built for the Millennium too, as London Eye. Okay, you remember London Eye. Another one. Westminster Cathedral. I love this one. the interior of this cathedral is very impressive. Okay. Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey is great too, and since 1066 all of Britain's kings and queens have been crowned at Westminster Abbey. Houses of Parliament is where the British government meets to make new laws. Okay, it's a famous building in London. Look at this one, incredible Harrods. So what about Harrods? You know, it's very funny because at the beginning, in 1849, it was just a small grocery shop. And today it's one of the largest and most famous department stores in the world. So you should visit Harrods. And the last one, because there are too many buildings and monuments in London. So the last one, of course, is Buckingham Palace. Look at this one. So since 1837, it has been the official home of the kings and queens of Great Britain. And inside you have 800 decorated rooms, including 52 bedrooms. Can you imagine 52 bedrooms inside the palace? And 78 bathrooms. You can have some visits of Buckingham Palace, but only public tours in the summer. In Buckingham Palace, there's also a cinema inside Buckingham Palace and a post office. Okay. So that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Stay safe and goodbye. Have a nice day.